Hello, my name is James and I'm here with Annabelle the sheep. Thank you for joining us as we step into this concerned review of the book Physics of Heaven. The book was published in 2012 under the banner of Bethel Church and is co-authored by Judy Franklin and Ellen Davis. It also has contributions from Bill and Benny Johnson, Larry Randolph, David Van Covering, Bob Jones, Ray Hughes, Cal Pierce, Dan McCollum, and Jonathan Welton, as well as a foreword by Chris Valentin. So we have quite a few authors who are involved in this work, some of whom are quite high in leadership at this church. I just read this book recently, and I know that it's been on the market for a while, but I have, as I say, serious concerns with this book. I think that it represents a very dangerous position to be presenting to the church, as it is full of blatantly false teachings. And so in order to, it's one thing to make that statement, but in order to convey why I believe that that is true, I think it's important that we would move methodically through the book from cover to cover and look chapter by chapter at what is being said. So what I really want to do here is first to cover the content. I don't want to be speaking out of a position that leaves you, the listener, uninformed as to what is actually being said. So I want to look fairly at the content, and then secondly, I want to move into the spiritual assertions that are being made and the handling of the Bible. And then third, because this is a book that contains so many chapters, so many different contributors, I want to look at the editorial concept that went on behind the book and kind of give you a sense of where I see the editors and authors guiding the reader as we move through the book. So again, I want to look at the content, I want to look at the spiritual assertions and the handling of the Bible, and then finally I want to look at the editorial big picture. So as we step into this book, we only get 2 pages, or 2 leaves into the book, before we come across a disclaimer. And I think it's essential that we understand the role that this disclaimer plays in the entire book and between you and the authors. Please note, the contents of this book are based on interviews and research conducted by the authors and contributors, as well as on their own life experiences. The publisher and authors present this information for inspirational and educational purposes only. Therefore, the reader should be aware that this information is not intended as spiritual advice, doctrinal position, or comprehensive scientific fact, but rather is intended to be a sharing of knowledge and information from the research and experiences of the authors and contributors. The publisher and authors encourage you, the reader, to thoroughly investigate and prayerfully consider the topics for yourself that are introduced in this book and come to your own conclusions about them. So what are we, the reader, supposed to take away from this disclaimer? Are we meant to understand that the contributors don't actually write what they mean? Especially from the leaders, we should ask the question, are they saying that they are not, in fact, conveying information that is doctrinally sound or that should constitute spiritual advice? I think it's pretty clear through the chapters that that actually is not the case and that the contributors firmly stand behind what they have to say. Second of all, the disclaimer itself seems to violate its own rules because it asks you to thoroughly investigate and prayerfully consider the topics introduced in this book. So they're already giving us spiritual advice in a disclaimer of a book that is not meant to give us spiritual advice. So I think what we need to look at here, though, from the position of the leadership, is actually asking the question, if I am the pastor of a church, I am the shepherd of a flock. So if I were to give this sheep here fodder which is not nutritionally sound and is in fact actually dangerous for it, what kind of position am I putting myself in and my flock in if I just simply put up a disclaimer in front and says, I'm not really sure where this fodder has been. I'm not sure of the nutritional value of this fodder. But you know what? I'm going to put it out for you so that you can prayerfully consider it for yourself. You really can't come back to me later on and say, well, I got sick from what you gave me. I died because of what you gave me. Because you know what? That was kind of a buyer beware moment there. As I've said, it also is quite clear through the chapters that each of the contributors consistently stands behind what they have to say. So, that being said, getting joined by just about everybody around here. That being said, I hope that you'll continue with me as we step chapter by chapter through this book, because I really think that there is an important message that we need to understand. So thank you for sticking with me through this, and I hope that you'll continue to watch as we go through chapter by chapter through this book. At times it's a bit of a tough slog, but it's really important that we would begin to learn to discern truth from falsehood and the teachings that are being pushed upon us by churches that are as widely accepted as Bethel. So stick with me. It's going to be interesting. Hope to see you again.